Today I'm going to show you how I made these super cute anchor backpacks, and they're lined. I didn't add any extra pockets. You could easily add extra pockets. The reason I didn't add any extra pockets was because I'm making 25 of them and they're for a specific purpose, and so I didn't add the extra pocket. But if you did want to add an extra pocket, you could, I'll show you where you could add that in. We had somebody donate the fabric. You could get it at a fabric store or whatever. Just use fabric somebody else has that fits the thing that you're doing. This year for camp we're doing Live Life Anchored and a passport to your future. So we're making little passports and we're making these bags, and then we're putting little name tags on each one of them so each girl knows whose is what. The first bag I came up with, I made up the pattern and was trying to figure out a cheap way to do it and make the handle, and we were trying to make them a little bit more colorful, and I didn't like the way they were kind of rough on the edges, and I'll show you what that is. The secondhand store down here had about 8 different colors of this edging fabric, already, got cute fabric on it for bindings for edges of pillows or whatever. And so I tried to use the colors that they had and stripped one of them down to the white, and I just didn't like the way it frayed. I think it would be fine, but I also realized when I was taking the fabric off that the red bled onto some of the white. So as you can see, there's pink on that one and white on that one. So a little bit more pink on the handle. So I decided to strip them all. So we cut the lengths that we needed, measuring from the bottom side up to the top, and then a looping around the top, and then back, and then down. So you need double the length of the length and width, basically, so that you have enough to make the backpack handles a drawstring. So what we did was we measured that width, or length, sorry, and we just cut this to that length, and then we just stripped it with this. And so if there's a store near you that has this and they're clearancing out, you could ask them, hey, can I buy that ugly color of binding really cheap? Not binding, what is this called? Edging. Really cheap, and it doesn't really matter what color you get, because what you're going to do is you're going to check it at the store and make sure it's this kind of cute fray braided white color underneath. And what I did was they were asking $5 a bolt. Can you see that? And I said, what if I buy 6 bolts and you give them to me for $1 each, and you clearance out those colors? And they were thrilled to do that. So I got, and it only took 1.5 of these, so I had a ton left over. We're going to use it for rope at camp for the ship that we're making. So it was very cheap. So that was about $1.50 for the handles. The fabric was donated, and then I was looking for a lining fabric. I was going to just see if I could find an old sheet from a secondhand store, but one day when I went, they had this 2 bolts of this lining actual fabric for $1.50 each. So I was able to get all of the, I think I might have to make, well, no, because I have a couple extra cuts. So I got all of the binding, I got all of the lining fabric for $1.50. So we're like $5 or so for, not even, for the entire bags, plus thread, needles, whatever. So really, I made 20-something bags for a few dollars. So go and see if there's some cute, weird-looking fabric that you could make them out of on the clearance rack or by the bolt, or put it on a yard sale site in your local town and say, hey, I'm looking for fabric that has this on it, cheap for a girls' camp, and somebody might donate the fabric that you need. So then what I did was I measured how big we needed the bags. You wouldn't want them much bigger than that. So I measured. And also what I did was I also took the fabric that I had and folded it several times over to see how big of a piece I could get and still make the 20-something that I needed. So basically, this is probably 2.5 feet by 2 feet, maybe 3 feet by 2 feet, not even quite that much. So just make it a rectangle. Whatever you're going to do, you want it to be similar or to rectangle. And then you cut the lining fabric to be the exact same size. And the first step you're going to do is you're going to sew right side to right side together around 3 of the sides. So you're going to start here, and you're going to sew right sides together here, across the bottom, and up to the top. Then you turn the fabric inside out, right sides out. So now you've got the hemmed sides. So this would be, pretend this is hemmed. So now you've got a big rectangle that is a bag, kind of, because the top is open and it's got the other fabric on the inside. So you've got kind of a bag. And then what you do is you fold right sides together with the edges hemmed. Making a mess here. So now you've got it looking like this. And so you pin it right sides together, right? You don't do anything with the top just yet, but you pin right sides together of this hemmed fabric across the bottom and up one side, the long side. Then you take your, I got my extra strings here. Oh, we braided 3 of the strings together when we stripped them. So we now have a braid, whereas it was just this before. And then I cut off the ones that are longer, because when you braid, one or two tend to be longer. So then you would cut that off to be even. And then once you've got it pinned, you stick the entire braided thing on the inside. So you pin it with the 2 ends sticking out. Now I didn't leave them knotted because I didn't want them to be bulky. But basically you would have this side pinned, the long side pinned, and the bottom side pinned, and you would pin these in. Okay? Once we do that, we're to this point here. So I'm going to move this one. Okay? So once you've got it pinned, I undid the knot, and I pinned it so there was no knots, and then I stitched where I had pinned. See, now it's a finished edge because we did the right sides together and flipped it inside out. So then you stitch the long side and the short side, and I zigzagged back and forth over where the rope is inserted so that it's pretty strong. And then when you get to the top, you leave about 2 inches unsewn, so you sew up to about 2 inches before you get to the end. Sorry, I should have left some in different stages, but I sewed them all but the one. So when you get to that point, this edge isn't done. The rope is folded inside here. These edges are sewn, and you get to that point. Then when you get to that point, you grab the entire length of rope and you bring up the 2 sides on the inside, and then you loop the rest around the top, and then you fold the top down with the raw edge under. So you fold it, and then you fold it over again so that the raw edge is on the inside, and there is not going to be any raw edge, so that it looks finished. So fold it over and over just a little bit again, and then pin the rope on the inside all the way around there. So then you can stitch it, and I figured out that zigzagging was a lot easier on this because I didn't want to have a chance of it when they're pulling. There's going to be pulling on this. I didn't want it to fray or rip with just one single thread. So I zigzagged, if you can see that, using a similar color, the main color. I used black because it didn't show on the navy. And I zigzagged all the way around, making sure that you don't get the rope caught in your zigzag. You could do this a different way. You could sew the top first with the loop in it, and then stitch, leave this open and then stitch it in here. But I found it was easier to actually stitch this all and then just fold the rope inside the binding at the top for the drawstring, and it seemed to work fine. Then you turn it right side out. So at that point, once you've sewed the zigzag and you've sewed it all in, that gives you a nice lining. At this point, you could sew a smaller pocket, and I'm not sure. I have extra fabric. I could do this, but I could just sew a little pocket right here with a fold over top, or I don't want to put a zipper in. Like I said, that would be kind of cumbersome. But I what we're using these for is for charity bags. We're going to give them hat looms and yarn and have this be their bag where they keep their stuff to do hats for charity. We're going to try and do some hats for the local hospitals, the children's hospitals and things like that. So, but looking at this, it's a cute pattern. It was really easy. Basically, it's just a rectangle and then, you know, your ropes. You could use any kind of thicker macrame. I did actually look for macrame roping so that I could just use the macrame rope, but actually these ones are very soft cotton, and so they actually came out, it worked out fine, and I like the little braided look, and it looks more like a little sea bag. So I was okay with that. They're very cute. In fact, every one of my girls that has come home, you know, for the weekends or whatever is like, I want one, they're so cute. So I might actually make some out of the fabric that they want and maybe put some pockets in and make them a little bit more durable for them. But anyway, that's how I made them, and I hope you understand it. And if you have any questions, go to my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com, and type in bag at the bottom in the search engine window at the bottom of my homepage. There's a box, and just type in beach bag or camp and bag, and up should come the more detailed posts and more descriptions, because I took pictures along each step. So hopefully you can find it and get something out of it. Thanks for watching.